Hello. Good evening. This is Elias Musha. Good evening, Chuempala. Good evening, world. Good evening, wherever you are listening us from. Thank you very much for joining us. And we are very excited to have you tonight. It's going to be a very, very exciting evening as usual. I am with me here, Mr. Patrick Chilufya and Ms. Mwelwan Tanisha. And we are very excited to have you. Please share this link with as many people as possible. Let everybody know that TV Bakwetu is on, and we are going to have a great time here together today. Share with as many people as possible. So I'm going to give you a few more minutes. Let everybody know. We have several topics today, and I just want to let you know of some of the topics that we have today. It's going to be a long discussion. And please, if you have to give us any information, you want to ask a question, you want to contribute, please do so in the comments, all right? We're going to have Honourable Heartson Mabeta at a later stage, but we are talking about Sunzu and immigration and stuff like that. We are also going to be dealing with Nagachinda, who is in jail. And we're going to ask the question, is there corruption in the hiring of teachers? The government has decided to hire 30,000 new teachers. And the question we are asking ourselves is there corruption? Because we are receiving some reports that are not very good. And so we want to talk about that. And then lastly, but not the least, civil servants are in a 12% salary increase. Of course, there's been comments about, is this sufficient? Is it enough? And stuff like that. And so we're going to discuss all those issues. I'm going to post our link. And then if you're able to, please come on, let's have a chat tonight. All right. Mr. Patrick Chilufya and Ms. Mwelwan Tanisha, welcome to TV Bakwetu tonight.
Welcome. Good evening, Dr. Musha. Good evening, viewers.
Good evening, Dr. Musha, and good evening to our listeners.
All right, it's going to be a great time. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Patrick Chilufya is somewhere in UK, and Ms. Tanisha is in Lusaka or somewhere there. We understand that it's been raining, so you are quite relieved that it's raining down there, isn't it?
Yes, we're just itching for more rain and cooler temperatures. I think it feels still a bit too warm for some of us, so fingers crossed. I'm sure the farmers are on tenterhooks excited about the rain.
Right. It always rains on Christmas Day. So in 2 weeks, it's going to rain again. And so we are hoping, is it 2 weeks? I shouldn't say in 2 weeks it will rain again. I should say tomorrow and the next and the other day it will
Tomorrow,
rain
please.
again.
Yes.
Yeah. There's been several things that have been making news, and we're going to start with what our Lamba brother did today. Now, Nagachinda is in trouble. Some of our people are asking, why should Nagachinda be in trouble? Well, it's for very simple reasons. You see, political speech is protected. Like if you were speculating that that is protected speech. You are subject, you can have your own opinion about it, right? That's okay. We are in a democracy. However, what Honourable Nagachinda said was a very specific allegation. Very specific. Very specific. What he said was, President Haga, he calls him Mr. Haga in the Hichilem, whatever he says. He is meeting with judges at his house in order to destroy Zambian democracy. Now, that is not just a general criticism. No, that is a very, very specific allegation. And what we have noticed is that Mr. Nagachinda, or pastor, is a pastor like me. Nagachinda. Elo, I can tell about once n'abachirufya n'abantanisha n'abamwero bonse nibapende. So nifwe bapende. No, but if Nagachinda, it's quite confusing. The reason is that you can't be in politics. We are in politics. We are in one way or another. But let your politics be politics that are going to help our people. Not to kulabwata watafye, ukula tukanensere, no kulapanga ama allegations akwate tuchite substantiate. But baleringanya if it waleranda about lungu nefe baleranda nafipsana. If twaleranda pali balungu fyakwe bati balungu tabareteka bwino yo. Balungu had no clue. Balungu tabahishiwo kuteke chalo. That's what we were saying. And we were saying that Balungu has created around him a culture of thieves. And even the Patriotic Front itself, it was a party of thieves. That's what we were saying. And there is enough evidence to substantiate those allegations. We did not come up with all these grandiose claims of what we've seen Lungu with judges and they are sitting and they're trying to destroy the Zambian democracy. Well, if Nagachinda says that he has evidence for that, we ask him a simple thing. Tender the evidence, show where the president was meeting with the judges. Now, Mr. Nagachinda is a liar. And Mr. Nakachinda, this is not the first time that he's been a liar from the very beginning when he was dealing with the Patriotic Front. So he's Raphael Liar Nagachinda. That is what his name should be. And that has been his pattern, number, except that now he has really gone beyond what was expected and has gotten himself in trouble. His mouth has led him into serious, serious trouble. What do you think, Bachilufia?
Bamusha, thank you so much. You 100% correct. Nagachinda, who is our fellow Pentecostal pastor, we respect him. But the allegations Nagachinda made were so serious. But Bamusha, not just defaming the president, alleged, but also contemptuous. And that's why we've seen the Solicitor General, is it the Attorney General or Solicitor General, has made an application to the High Court, Attorney General, so that Mr. Nakachinda can be, can be indicted, so that he can go and explain which judges are meeting with the president. Because here there is a case of the 9 people, and then somebody comes and make such a serious allegations about judges. So, but and then Mamusha, you said this person is a liar. Yes, Nagachinda is a liar. But not only that, Mr. Nagachinda also, instead of being a pastor, who's supposed to be a messenger of goodwill, a messenger of unity, a messenger of peace, this person has been used as a messenger of confusion. Look at what he did in MMD. All confusion. For years, MMD couldn't even do anything because just one person, Nagachinda, was taking them from one court to another. Until MMD just was messed up. And then he's now started the same confusion now with the nation now, with UPND. So I don't know this man, how far he's going to go. And whatever has happened to him, I think he's just reaping what he has sown. Thank you, Mamush.
Yeah. Vamuelwa.
I find him to be a bit of a to be a very funny character, and I think for me, I'm a bit blunt. When you hear that he's a pastor, I'm thinking he's not a pastor. I'm thinking about Papa. But that's not, we need to look at the qualities of a pastor. So if somebody is bringing dissension, automatically
he's from Victory. But Patrick Chilufebaku Victory.
Yeah.
So Nagachinda is from Victory.
Victory, but because you see, there's got to be a clear distinction between who a pastor is and who a pastor isn't. And the moment we don't have a distinction, pastor, and I think that's why even the Bible labors to describe who a particular leader should be, because it should be somebody who is actually quite different from the others, Yeah. But this is somebody who has a history which is very confusing. And so when I look at what he said, I equally sort of pointed to somehow a bit of political prematurity in a lot of politicians. We have a lot of politicians who are so immature, they cannot bring across arguments, constructive arguments. They cannot bring forth constructive criticism. Because I mean, democracy is built on, the criticism that's going on in parliament or out of parliament. But a lot of the people that we're seeing who are claiming to be offering checks and balances are completely off the, I'm looking at them and thinking, I wish China was a place that just used to use their own strength by being shackled. Because I mean, if you're offering constructive criticism and you say certain things like what we've been seeing in the media, where someone says, then he equally comes on and says, no, you're meeting judges. You're looking at it and thinking, no more, So I think there's a lot of immaturity. And that's why he's gone to the extent where now he said something which is actually defamatory and not actually, you could say this is freedom of speech. Because I mean, if we look at certain countries like America, who say they have this great democracy, you are able to say certain things to the president. You are able to say the president is this and that. You have cartoons and all sort of jokes about presidents, but there's a line that you shouldn't exactly cross, which I think Nakachinda has overly crossed.
Yeah, I think that's reality, because you can't begin saying Okobati, President Hakainde Hichilema is meeting with the judges. That's huge. Maybe that's what they were doing in the Patriotic Front, because the Patriotic Front was a party of mafias. So the Mbivena benefyo barechta bambo kumuna kwana kalimo naba nabo benefyo barechta. Sometimes efechiva iwenga yakutira walikwataka yaka kulufianya niwe bokalufyanya kumona kwati nomnobi ale lufyanya. Just like in marriage limo abantu abashupa sana ama spouses babo eba bana weso kuchitefi intifya ba wes. So number they are trying to project it on somebody else. Kanshi Nagachinda limbe chitefyo na balungu banabo they are being difficult to judges and corrupting judges and meeting judges to destroy Zambian democracy. Maybe they are the ones. Now, I do not think there is any truth whatsoever in what Mr. Nagachinda has been saying about judges. I have had my own differences with the way some decisions have been done with judges in the past, but that is something that we discuss about. You look at it and you say, judges should have looked at this in a different way. You offer your opinions and that's it. On the steps of the Supreme Court itself. no kwamboku bepo obufi. At he saw, he is even using the example of the binoculars. At he saw, in his binoculars, he saw judges going into into the president's home. That's pretty sad. Anyway, so we understand that he's been detained at Charleston clinic, you know, and I think that's what we need for friends. Nagachinda velala on the floor yo. In a very and I think those are kind of friends that we need, isn't it? Abalamba mwaliba bwino mwandini, because Nagachinda was going to, I don't know where he was going to sleep, because Valubinda was just thinking about himself. Bachilangwa na Bobeno was just thinking about himself. No, but Bomma Nusambo evere no. Mfirina tuwalira ko uyu muntu yinshi apa akuya mukusenda ma. Paka wachalale bwino. Maybe Bomma nalishwa sana okulala. So achishi boko batukulala kwa achiba important. Bamwerwa. Ushokulala kukankala.
No, I actually laughed at that one because I thought this is just drama. We always say drama queens, but I think those were drama kings that were performing this afternoon.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those things. I think politically, I looked at them and I said, these were the leaders that we had. I mean, this is one on the first night or the first day, even hours, and you're all behaving like this man has been even convicted by Ingila for 20 years on a mattress. And this might not be something that, but I'm equally interested to hear what more he's being charged with under the detained element, because I thought, is it just because of the statement? Is the statement so bad? But when I look at the grander picture, or the bigger picture, he's implicating quite a lot of people, because I'm equally now asking myself, are the PF having some surveillance system on the president that they're able to say they saw the judge go in or go out? Equally, because the other thing I'm also asking myself is, what are the president's hours when they work? And president's working odd hours. So if a judge were to drive into the president's house, whatever time, should we then allude that this is a corrupt practice? Could they just simply be working? You know, there are all these things that he has brought out that are so, he's touched on a lot of nerves. Unknowingly, I highly suspect they are knowingly.
I think he's probably using his binoculars, big binoculars. So badi bonfye binoculars. No kumona judges going in and out of community house. It's terrible. He's just a liar, and the problem is that he's just that bad of a liar that he has no clue what he's talking about. Unfortunately, we want credible opposition. You know, because if you are an opposition party, be a very good opposition party. You know, we've been there before in opposition. It's extremely difficult and painful. Mwaleteke chalo. Elo nombo wasa mipangati wa opposition. Chira kalipa. It hurts. And using the language ya bachitote naba nao bakampyongo. Ati chinyonga. Ati chikunyonge. It's extremely bad, you know. But what we expect from the opposition is to be very humble and swallow this bitter pill that they are passing through, and swallow it with dignity. Okushipa. Not you are just dancing and climbing from no bane. Don't throw tantrums yo. Shipeni. Lusambo shipeni. Nagachinda shipeni. Because it's not easy. It's not easy. And particularly that they were leading and they were in government. Elovasa lose an election. Losing, and not losing at, they lost Panono. They lost gigantically. It was extremely terrible. And so I really sympathize with the gentlemen. May God really give them a heart to survive their years in opposition. On the substantive cases itself, I think, and this is my own position, I do think that the 9 MPs that the Speaker has said cannot sit in Parliament stand a very good chance of winning that case. A very good chance. So nombaba Nagachinda, okuya mukusabaira, when you even have kachansa kakoba tutumwa wina, And then you anger judges, you anger everybody, you anger people like us who are thinking that indeed Bowman Lusambo, the speaker, should not have sent Bowman Lusambo away from Parliament for appealing the case to the Constitutional Court. That's just common sense. Umuntu ngachita appeal. Why should you then say they can't sit in Parliament? And so we expect that they are likely to be successful. That's what I think. And so when you are thinking that you're likely to be successful, just calm down, swallow your pride, and follow the law and wait for it. That's it. Otherwise, they have withdrawn their case before the High Court. So what has happened is, and this is one of the boring stuff in the law, people are asking right now to say, what does it mean to withdraw the case in the High Court? So they did what is known as judicial review in the High Court. So judicial review is a mechanism where judges supervise the state, basically, the administrative state. And so that is the procedure that is done in the High Court. So when an actor, a state actor, makes a decision that is illegal, that is irrational or unreasonable, you can go to a judge and say, please review this decision so that it can be revised. That's the procedure that they had taken. But there was another procedure that was being taken before the Constitutional Court. The Law Association of Zambia decided to challenge, to ask the Constitutional Court to interpret the relevant sections of the Constitution. And so because you have both the High Court and the Constitutional Court going, I think they received legal advice to withdraw from the High Court and concentrate on the Constitutional Court. I don't know what that whole thing means, but the Constitutional Court has guided us to say, if you have another remedy that you can seek without coming to the Constitutional Court, you would rather go use that remedy instead of using the Constitutional Court remedy. That has been the guidance. But I don't know the wisdom that has gone into their decision to withdraw the case, but they did. And so the action for judicial review has now been stopped. And so it's now in the Constitutional Court. And I think that the Constitutional Court is likely to rule in the favor of these MPs. Because the decision from the Madam Speaker is very difficult to justify, extremely difficult to justify.
I think, Vamusha, you've said enough, and you're an expert in that field. The only thing I noticed, Vamusha, yesterday was that the Law Association of Zambia also issued a statement regarding Nagachinda's utterances. I hope you've seen it.
Yeah.
So, which means whatever Nagachinda said is so serious that it's not just about UPND, it's about the judges, it's about the Law Association, so they cannot blame UPND that they're trying to make Zambia into a one-party state. Somebody makes such serious, contemptuous allegations, you can't just walk away just because it's a democracy. Thank you very much.
Yeah. No, of course, what Nagachinda did was pretty bad. So for those that are just joining us here on TV Wakwetu, what Nagachinda said is pretty bad. First of all, there is he has no evidence, because he even told us right on camera, evidence binoculars. He's a liar, That was completely unjustified. There was no reason for you to begin kubwata like that. And now he's in trouble. Very terrible. But at least Bowman Lusambo had taken him a mattress. So I hope Bala comfortable in jail. I don't know how far it will go with the contempt and with defamation of the president. Even with Lungu, I never supported defamation of the president at all. Yeah. We were saying that Lungu dare teka wino, but we never used to insult him. I never tolerated it myself. When he collapsed at a pass out paya, we said in insala. Number okulanda chumuntu dimbini insala, tadide breakfast. It's not an insult. Because ngataudi ide breakfast. Elowaya fenta nishi. The problem is the breakfast. Hello, when Lungu says some things, Tuarelanda tifu arelanda mukanwa fiabufi. Tatuarelanda Lungu wabufi. No, Tuarelanda if your Lungu arelanda mukanwa fiabufi. Because defamation against the president covers only the president himself. Because, you know, in a state like Zambia, tufiro kuchinti kakateka. Come on. Nombanga tulelanda tulemutu kakateka. It's not very good. But ingataleteka wino kumwebera kwatuwe Lungu. Tauleteka wino echalo yo. Uleteke fyabu dictator, taule konka mafunde, tawaba bwino. Those things you can say. Not if Nagachinda Valeranda. Anyway, I think fearful with Nagachinda mwe. What else can we say? No, bamwelwa ino lusoko mona ila picture yaba lubinda naba chilangwa naba boman lusambo. They look extremely stranded.
You know, that's one thing. I think that's why I was saying, you see, these politicians we had were so immature. I think they were so unwise. I can imagine, I think when you lose an election or you're going towards an election, you've always got to quantify or even take into consideration the seriousness of the fact that you could lose, which is one thing that my PF never thought of for 10 whole years. They were so convinced beyond a shadow of doubt that they would go through, you see. And it means they never even prepared themselves for the possibilities. So now where they were, they really looked really hopeless, and just, it gave you a sense of regret. I think for me it was also a sense of regret and a bit of a melancholy kind of thing where you're like, yeah, ever let to take over, you know, because you're looking at them and thinking, these are grown-ups behaving like children. You know, it made you really feel, I think for me particularly as a youth, I really felt like, oh my goodness, these are the people we let rule us for this whole year. They couldn't even think in advance to say, let us be a little wise about getting into the opposition. How are we going to position ourselves if we end up in the opposition? Because I think chikunyonge is a very childish notion from their point of view, especially, you know, because as a politician, you know, what would I to school or machatea bola? You know, what's a loser kind of thing. But this was the nation. This was ruling people's lives. And now today, they are looking hopeless. I mean, they never even planned for their retirements or possible losing. It was something that they never planned for. And now they are looking so hopeless. And I didn't actually show why yesterday, you know, a bad day. So I think
the opposition patriotic front anyway, you know, go and listen to a lot of motivational messages, you know, because it's terrible if you know, it's extremely terrible. But they thought this is a government very methodical approach at Kwanga. No kuyumfa bale yumfa no nifo tuleteka uyu muntu taka tukaketa akatwikate yo bala boko batifyo balufyanya fingi, and it's catching up on them now. Faith Musonda, the government confiscated 65 million kwacha, and it's been taken back into the treasury. Now, we understand that she's now back and she's being questioned. Some reports are saying that she's actually in jail. Now, here is the thing that we need to be very clear to our people. The section under which Faith Musonda, it says, Ofiroku were very forthright right from the start. Ofirowa beba ma prosecutors ukweba kwena chachine ishinda la menshi shakwiba muchibemba shakwiba shabungo waba honest. Elo nomba wapela chirechuma kuli government wachita surrender. Nenganda ine wachita surrender nomba tekuya munganda elo nomba wayafumya mu fiance filimo. You know, ero watowa ulechianda. No. Kupelo obuteko ilia inenganda ilia. With all the furnishings. No manatu mfuati ilio vapere nganda. At least those are the allegations. Again. At ilio vachitire surrender that house. ba Faith Musonda. If your child, if you are at least those are the allegations. Okuyafumia, okuyanukaule fintu if you are munganda, ama TV, furnishings in the house, vasenda. Okuteko bwafulwa. I would say you can't do that. The other thing is, ngawapela ukeko 65 million wabapela nenganda. You need to do one more thing. Ofwire wabeba other proceeds of crime that you have. Because it's a very, very powerful section, that one. It wants to save you. So can very honest. No good volunteer. In addition to the 65 million, I also am lacking. I've also got information about this other money. You are honest. Take officer yo. Number chipalire kwati. Ilio bachile surrender 65 million. Vama yovena bali kwata na fimbi fyo ba afishide. Never do that. Chokanji kuli mwe wonse ba Patriotic Front. Naba nabo, because ba Patriotic Front abare babeka. With your friends that you were stealing with, please. When the Anti-Corruption Commission comes after you, please give them what they find. But even the information that they don't know, provide it to them. Surrender all the loot that you have stolen from our people. If you give back what you've stolen, I think our people are going to say, well, you know, at least the beginning point should be, give us the loot back. Take officer yo, muikaimono kuchenjela, baka msanga, baka mkaka. Extremely terrible. Vamwelo, 65 million.
I think for me, I was a little disappointed that it was as simple as giving back the money and just admitting. I know, because that loot was too big to simply just admit and go off. I was part of those that were like, Allah, this legal system. But I think what goes around, I think, Walipe Pesha-san, and she's back in. And I think there's so many rumors. And that's the unfortunate thing I'm finding, is that we don't have adequate information, specific sometimes, especially by our media. I think they're really letting us down, because you're just hearing rumors that, no, she went back, she broke a wall, she went back, she did this. And I think if we could get a little bit concrete information, rather than just wishy-washy, so that we can actually equally know what other proceeds that she didn't hand in. But it's also a bit, I don't know whether this is reflective on lawyers, because if you have a lawyer with you, why would the lawyer not advise her to say, look, you've got to give up everything?
Oh, okay.
Because this equally falls back on a lawyer, or does this fall that Nwe Cafe?
How about lawyers? Sometimes it's very popular in the culture. It's the lawyers. Alamwandi nama lawyers are completely innocent. No bufiba lawyer tababe papo.
Ababe clients.
My clients. So kanshi imwe bonse imwe munakona kalimanga mwachita hire lawyer will get you out of all those lies. No, be very truthful. Konsako wa iba. Mwamana. Kuliba Faith Muso naba nabo bamuba. Should have you cited for contempt. Let's have advice. Could you also wa ibire chalo kwebati? What you do is be very, very honest when you are questioned by our law enforcement. Whoever nako afisa konse under the pillow. Mfurumo ya kasonda. Everything under the bed. Be honest. Do not use that your mukarebe peshama lawyers that I'm a lawyer. No. It is you as a client. Lawyer fira kweva. But if you buy SEC it's the truth. Nothing but the truth. And nothing but the whole truth. It's shinka epela. No, but it seems very shakofimo. When they say full disclosure, it means full disclosure. Tetiwe wasaba pela 65 million lero. Welo bakupsha tempia shonse shisha kuibate eshin. And then 2 days later, basa sango kuibate na ukwata na imbi 1 million somewhere else. You are in trouble. Elote tufise no kufisa hiyo.
Equally, I was a little also interested to know, how did she go back into a house she's not supposed to have gone back in? Shouldn't the state have taken it? What does the state do when they take back a house? Should no one had been targeted? You know, there are little things. Because I'm also thinking you made it very easy for her to go back. You know.
Bali mubikira akadiba. Ififya kwa watu we muntu limbita ule mwana kwa nakalimu ababa bantu aba tabishi befe barechita. Because kwali bako kaliya ka attitude what can these people do to me? They know, because here is how it works. You need to be very honest here. I need to be very honest to our people. You see, the state has a lot of information, right? So like the president alikuwa sana information. Ngalefwaya. So ngalefwaya kuishiba bank account ya bachirufya panon. There is no official channel that can give him that money. But kuti babo mfiyako umulomo. Ero baya iba. Ayin. Ukwibire chalo. So baya intelligence kuti bamuletera kateka na tukwataka statement yaka monapo. Efe bateke chalo. Pantu ngata ukwete access kubufino umulomo. You can't govern a country. But that information is just supposed to help you govern a state. That's it. You can't use it in court. You can't. So even when you have that information you let the investigative wings now build their own case. Because now kwate chishinka, if you can't build a criminal case, that person will walk. Nomba kanshiba nanya, babale monati, these people are not clever. So babaleka, ate 65 million if you're going to be ate nefi chapwa. Okay. Ngenganda feira ine kanshishia a lot of property nendala manashimbi and everything else. Now she has now done what? By komena kadiba. So our advice to our people is, when SEC comes knocking on your door and you are part of the thieves that stole from our people, please just be truthful. Muika monati yo ababa SEC ba mulomo nangwa SEC, what are they going to do to me? No. Be forthright. If you have some money offshore somewhere in Maldives or Panama, just tell them nashimbi yako shidi zala. Atizala. Anyway. That's it on Faith Musonda. Faith Musonda.
Yeah, I think Bamusha, to start with, you're an expert in this area, and you've said it rightly that Ngavalanda amnesty. You know, I've seen amnesty here in the UK, in Nigeria, in South Africa. When they say amnesty, kunokuba amnesty amfuti, not yandarama. Because one area of London is uncontrollable. So they say, hello, Bamusha, that you would take what information. When they say that, they even know our foot, but they can't just go there. So Bami Perafe, a benefit of a doubt. So Kula Kwata foot 10, ni gangster, hashtag 5. Hello, Navish, but a little of a 5. And then it reached once someone did that, yes. Then that's when the state now go by force. To go now, so now, because amnesty period now, it's a criminal offense. And they arrest so many people. So first now, obviously, he underestimated this government, the methodical government. Then ale ingira mofi ati utujue n'abapera ko twingi basende kansha dela bati ale muchita watch. The government Boma is very sophisticated, has got so much resources. Imagine Bamusha, there is FIC, there is tech, there is anti-corruption, there is police. So ngaraba Boma ngaya kuimina ngaraba kwe bati lande chinka kulande chinka, otherwise you end up in this situation yakwa face. Thank you.
Yeah. So our advice to our people, again, just be truthful. You know, it's clear. The Patriotic Front was a party of thieves. It was a government of thieves. Baleyiba mwebo okwiba. So, karakutira mwaleyiba nabo. Ero nombaba ACC nangu badek vaisa bapereni ululani bamwerwa efe baranda mu kinyanja kuulula.
I'm trying to think on the spot here, you know. My Nyanja is not particularly good. Ukuulula. Oh, yeah, ukuulula.
Ati ni ulule dola muri
Chivanda.
Dola muri na chivanda. Alamwandi ansonga ninevo fya chitigevyo. I'll be the first one. No, before tabala ipsho no kupshe ba ICC. Chevere nefi naulia. I will not even waste my time. But kainge fya kuiva. Nabasenda ko 65 million. Nabasende feshonse. Kainge sha kuiva. Kuibira abantu. Okay. So when we are saying this, we are not saying that these things have been proven. What the record that is before, and we are very careful that we are not cited for contempt or defamation. It's in public domain. Faith Musonda surrendered the money because it's in public domain. And it's in public domain. She's been summoned back because the state found they are a little bit more. So everybody should just be honest and truthful. Okay. Sunzu. Ili ashija kwa Sunzu liyakaba.
I think this is drama, Bamusha. This is drama. Is childish because Bamusha. Every country qualifying laws, even in the UK. A lot of immigration raids or checks ban too much that report. Even here in the UK. Yeah, they will report that in that Chinese shop factory, especially in London, they are illegal immigrants. Immigration surrounding that factory owned by a Chinese in London or a restaurant owned by a Chinese in London. You won't believe it. Because they've been tipped and they're just doing their work. And then, Bamusha, if it happened that Abafiashiba kwa Sunzu, na familia, legalize themselves or formalize themselves with paper. Apparently, we hear that Bafimine ku Congo. But Sunzu's father, I used to watch him when he was a goalkeeper for Concola Blades when I was young. So, Ngataba is to formalize if paper. Why? Because they've been in Zambia for so long. Zambia. So, I would blame them for not doing that.
Okay.
But then again, I would advise the state to sit down with them because these are good people and try to find a way of formalizing them, but not to make this matter a political issue. Thank you, Amush.
All right. Vamuelwa.
This is a very interesting topic because I was looking at it from a point of view where it's all right. If they don't have NRCs, what basis are they nationals on? But then I think later on, I've seen some views. Somebody wrote an article, a statement saying the reason they were actually raided is not because they are foreign nationals. They were raided because he had a funeral last year. I think Suzu's mother is said to have passed away last year, and relatives from the Congo came, and they were still at his house as of yesterday when he was raided. So again, I'm looking at the media and thinking the media are not telling us facts. We need proper journalistic, styles here. We want to hear the facts. Why was he raided? Is he charged under the immigration laws, or has he been charged on a criminal offense of holding, illegal immigrants? So these are all the things you really need to understand. But on the off back of this, if he's an illegal immigrant, he did not formalize himself, then he's an illegal immigrant. And we need to be also equally very careful because this is the problem that South Africa has. where so many people go into their nation, and then you find they don't have proper papers, and because South Africa is so big, their system isn't so good at catching anybody that's coming in. You now have an uprising. It's very easy to create an unstable environment for us Zambians. Already, we're already feeling the pinch. There are so many people who will tell you, why is it only the Rwandanese have Tumandu Ntemba? Why is it only Ugandans are Kwashani? Why is it only Tanzanians are in Komesa? We're already at that, uncomfortable state. And I feel very, again, angry with the opposition on this one, because they're the ones that are forwarding the whole logic, saying this was an immigration raid based on the fact that Mr. Lungu is staying in Suzu's house. So I don't understand how the two marry each other instantly. This is a criminal case if he was holding illegal immigrants, or it's an immigration case if he wasn't legally in Zambia and he had fellow and legalized people in Zambia.
In the sense that there are so many issues that are not clear at the moment. But we don't know whether it was Sunzu's father who was the target, whether it was Sunzu who is the target. And so it's a lot of misinformation at the moment.
Bamusha, your network is bad, but Bamwelwa, immigration issued a statement, I think 2 days ago. It wasn't Sunzu who was targeted. It was actually his father and the people who were living in the house. Apparently, they were illegal immigrants living in the house.
So then that story.
But immigration issued a statement 2 days ago.
Okay. So I think it's a little unfortunate. I feel like by media based, instead of working their talents and their skills in this new dawn where they have all this freedom, they have really relaxed, and they're waiting for people to bring the news to them instead of them going out to get the news, which is very irritating, because now we have too many voices, too many views instead of facts. And unfortunately, now we're struggling to even get concrete information. And I've easily missed the immigration statement, because all you're seeing is the other stories and not the immigration, who actually should be on top there.
Yeah, I think Bamwelwa, this is where we've got a problem. We've got a lot of journalists, a lot of media houses, but Daily Mail, but Zanis, but Times of Zambia, and none of them issued a comprehensive statement in this regard. And that's what happens. It leaves a void. And then when it leaves a void, look at the social media, and then there's misinformation will fill that void. So I don't know what we can say, because this matter, if it was in the UK, it would have been reported in so many media houses, and very clearly, because it's a serious issue, because what migration said is they were tipped. And this is what I know. Most of the immigration raids are as a result of a tip. Thank you, Bamusha is back.
Yeah, sorry. Did I disappear?
Yes, please.
Anyway, so I missed out on your part of the conversation, but at least we don't know whether it was aimed at Sunzu's father. We don't know whether it was aimed at Sunzu, but some people, like the Daily Nation, are saying that there is a connection between Sunzu's tenant, meaning President Edgar Lungu, and Sunzu. I don't understand where the connection could be, but that's what the Daily Nation is reporting. Now, in a hypothetical situation, right? Am I coming out just clear?
Yes, please, Vamush.
Okay, so in a hypothetical situation, what we understand, okay, assuming that there is a connection with that house was built by Sunzu. It appears like it was sold at one point. Do you remember that? So it appears like the house was actually sold. Sunzu had put it on sale.
I remember it when it was on sale, yes.
Yeah. So if it was on sale and it was sold, it would be interesting to know who actually bought it. So then there is a gap of information after it is sold that His Excellency, the former president and Opposition Patriotic Front president, Edgar Lungu, went and started renting that house. So I don't want to speculate because I'm a lawyer. Imagine, I'm a lawyer, I'm a preacher. So if we don't dare to speculate, no, but as a person with common sense, as a person from Chiwempala, I can draw some connections here. If the house was Sunzu's, now there is no evidence whether Sunzu still owns that property today. Nothing. It was sold. And then after it's sold, it becomes the residence of the Opposition Patriotic Front president and former president of Zambia. I'm asking, when I look at the 65 million, when I look at the kind of corruption that was going on, could that house be owned by the PF president or somebody connected to him? Is it too much to ask these questions or no?
Can I come in, Vamusha, on that, please? Vamusha, if you see the national, the newspaper you mentioned, which was a pro-PF newspaper, sorry to say that, Daily Nations, right. The correlation, they are saying Sunzu owned the house and now the president is staying in that house.
Right.
So what they are saying is that raid should have been as a result of that. So which means my immigration went there to look for something in connection with that house. That is just an assumption. But I remember when Sunzu's house was on sale.
Right.
And I even saw it. I'm told the house was sold to a Chinese guy. A Chinese guy.
Right.
And President Lungu now rents that house from that Chinese guy. But there's been some rumors or speculation on social media, very strong rumors and speculation that Chinese is just a proxy.
Right.
Yeah. That house belongs to Adada. I'm not saying he owns it, but those are the rumors flying all over in the social media. I rest my peace, Mamush.
Right. And so we at TV Bakwet, we are trying to be as factual as possible. That's why when we are speculating, we want you to know that we are speculating. There's some information here, Kowati, it's solid. But on this issue, the reason why we are speculating is that the coincidences are just too much. Sunzu built the house, Sunzu sold the house, and Edgar Lungu is renting it. And a few days earlier, immigration went and raided Sunzu's father's house. Now, it's not just immigration, because the statement from immigration says immigration as well as other law enforcement agencies. They went and we don't know what they were looking for. They say that they knocked on the door and Sunzu's father spoke to them very well. The Daily Nation is the one that is reporting that visit was connected with Sunzu's house. Teifwe is the Daily Nation. If there is this connection, it means then that kuliko kastori kamaka kaliko a little bit unknown, and we are hoping that the law enforcement agencies are going to go in and inform us as to what is truly going on. If indeed they are trying to find out who bought the house and there is a concern about that, let them just tell us directly about it. Regarding immigration, I think, Vachilufia, you are right. This is where now I need to perhaps clarify a little bit between the bureaucrats, meaning immigration and police, and politicians, the political process. So bureaucrats are supposed to apply the law, no matter what, right? So if you are an immigration officer and you find a person who does not have good immigration status, you are under obligation to do what the law says you must do. And apparently in Zambia, even if you are not Zambian, then you can't be in Zambia, or you need permits and stuff like that. And even if you have permits, if permits have expired, you still must regularize your stay. That is just the law. I find it strange That's why I wouldn't even think that it's a good law, but it's the law nevertheless. Imagine, ukuyo mkuikata umwina Malawi. Umwina Malawi, if you go into Chipata, Tashiteko, Katushinga, Nitobwa, or Wonga, or something like that, you arrest them for being an illegal immigrant. That is the part of the law where I would never understand. But nevertheless, it is still our law. So we can arrest Malawans, we can arrest Bagatange, Babululu. If we Mirenge, Mirenge is here across the river, it's Congo. Babululu Shesu, if they want to come, Baisa, clinic, immigration can arrest them. Imagine. So that's unfortunately is our law. However, there is something that is known as political process. While immigration officers are asked and tasked to follow the letter of the law, the last person who approves who should be deported or not is a politician known as the Minister of Home Affairs. And it is known as political interference. That's what political decisions, the word political is not a bad word. Bantu, sometimes we have been socialized to think that anything political is bad. No. The person who deports a foreigner in a country is always a minister, always a politician, always. The last person of appeal in the administrative process is always the minister. The reason why our law is like that is to allow for political oversight over bureaucrats' decisions. For example, an immigration officer can charge Sunzu or whatever it is with immigration offenses. But if the people of Zambia are uninterested in that, they can speak to the minister who then intervenes at a political level and says, we are going to regularize the stay. And so we hope the immigration will do their job quickly so that our Minister of Home Affairs can quickly grant Felix Sunzu or any other Sunzu brothers to regularize their stay if there is anything that is amiss. Otherwise, the people of Zambia are not interested in hearing about Sunzu or his father are having immigration issues in Zambia. We are not going, no one is going to tolerate that. No UPND, no PF is going to tolerate that at all. So politically, we are going to urge our minister to quickly look into it once the file goes to him. Because Felix Sunzu cannot be deported without the Minister of Home Affairs' endorsement. And so we don't want the Minister of Home Affairs to bring a lot of difficulty on Sofila Sunzu. Pantu ewa ingishe. Bola, penalty. Iya alengiro kubati tuwine ili Africa Cup. Ni nani? Ni Sunzu ewa ingishe, ewa pantire. Nomba umuntu wabanta bola. Mwisa mukuleta umulomona confusion. No. Sunzu ewa pantire ili bola at the AFCON. Ero tuwawina. So nomba ifwe as far as we are concerned, so Sunzu is a Zambian. Nabawishi bene. Nangu bali ni bakasai. Bali ni bakongole. Nabawishi bene bena Zambia. We are urging our government to quickly regularize them. If there is an issue if you with the Sunzu family, there are several other ways of you investigating it. Please do that and investigate as soon as possible. But otherwise, please, Sunzu muntu wesu, when answer afya is from Chiwempala. So in as a person from Chiwempala, I need to stand and defend my fellow Chiwempala. Alete Ebola of China, Tafurokula worry about what's going on. As a matter of fact, this government needs to give him a diplomatic passport. Because Konsoko Alea, he's from Zambia. That's what we want to see, as far as that is concerned. But political process, we know it's going to prevail over the law and have them regularize their stay. And I do understand that it's not just about Stopfila, but he's got several other brothers who are also playing football. Chalo. They are good guys. What do you think, Myron?
It's a tough one. I think for me, I feel if their legal status isn't good, I don't think they need any special treatment. These are not people who cannot pay. If Mumbayachi, who could not pay his way, I mean, Mumbayachi is somebody who is really good. He's known on the international stage as a musician, he had to be sent back to Congo to legalize his papers. Because at some point his papers are here were not really good. So if that happened to Mumbayachi, who was quite a prominent person, then we should equally apply it to Estopila and Sunzu. There's nothing unique about them apart from the fact that they've stood for Zambia in different categories. So I think if their papers are not good or they're not legal, I don't think they need any special treatment or things to work very fast. They need to go back to Congo, let them go back to Congo and let them reapply properly and get their citizenship. This is what would happen to me as a Zambian if I walked into Congo. So I don't think if I went to Congo and I was a legal immigrant, they would send me back to, legalize issues. So I think sometimes Tulabaku is a bit not too nice. As Zambians, I think we can be nice, but we need to make sure that we are nice correctly, and other people begin to equally fear. Because if we make this habit that they played football for us, English, Ebola, but Zambia. So he's equally benefited from other things Zambian, which he shouldn't have been benefiting. So you can imagine for others who the law will apply.
So the political process comes in to help to blunt the effect of the law. That's what happens, right? Everywhere, even Kuma America or even in Canada, there are situations. I'm an immigration and refugee lawyer here, and there are situations where a person does not have a legal path, but they use what is known as humanitarian and compassionate grounds, which is a political process. It's a politician who decides to whether they are going to have them in Canada or not. So that is not different from the Zambian situation, because that happens all the time. And so I don't think there is appetite among Zambians right now to be told whether Stofila Sunzu or his parents might be illegal. That is going to be a huge political issue. We are not going to stomach that, unfortunately. So we are a political republic, and so there are some decisions that are made on political basis, because that's what we are. We are a political republic, and we shouldn't fear the political decisions, because that is what our system is. It's the abuse of the political process that becomes a problem. Abuse of the political process. Yeah. Otherwise, if something is done where the people themselves, Zambians, who have seen PF, as well as if there is any issue where they agree on, it's the fact that, quite all right, immigration need to do their job, but we need to intervene politically and make sure that such a thing does not happen again.
I think, Bamusha, you're right on the political issue, because I remember during UNIP government, towards the end, there were a lot of people who were deported by the UNIP government. But when the MMD government came into power, the politicians used their powers to bring them back.
Yeah, Honourable Mabeta. Imwe ukumwaikala kumuvulira kumafukeni.
Last week that we will be back today on a Wednesday. Yes.
Sorry.
Okay, you're welcome. So
no, thank you. Sorry for joining you late.
Yeah, no, you're welcome.
You're welcome, Honourable.
Not to learn several things, but the story is on Sunzu, and I know that you being a member of Parliament for Kankoyo, you might have something to say, but I also don't want to appear like I'm putting you on the spot. So you can comment, please don't.
Yeah, I think I've followed the few conversations we've had on the political move or humanitarian move. You remember, Bamusha, there was this, is it Mark Rich, the owner of Glencoe? We had a Pepeke Charochons because he was considered as one of the most corrupt businessmen. But in America, when Tony Blair, no, not Tony Blair, before George Bush. The president who pardoned his
Bill Clinton?
cases. Bill Clinton, yes. 100 days before he left, he pardoned him because of a political move, what you are saying, looking at the contribution he had done to that country. So I think Sunzu's situation has no two ways about it. It's something we have to as a country, we have to ensure that we protect Sunzu has contributed a lot to this country, him as a family, I had the conversation. So just some errors which need to be corrected. It's even something which should be done in a way that we are punishing a family. And I think the problem in Zambia is we're trying to connect everything to politics, and that's what makes the situation complicated. You can't just sue.
But Daily Nation, Honourable Mabeta, it's Daily Nation that said Sunzu's father was being questioned in connection with the lease agreement he signed with the tenant number 100.
How? What's the connection? It doesn't just make sense. So we're doing too much politics in Zambia than looking at the impact those politics can have. I want to draw too many people in politics who are not even politicians. I don't think Sunzu's father and Susan, the player, they're politicians. So I draw them into politics, I think that there should be a clear-cut line between politics and the private life. Let people enjoy their private life and let politicians do the politics. Don't draw everyone in politics. There's a clear line between politics and
but tenant is 65. New tenant 100 now, but tenant is 65, but munganda kwa Sunzu.
Yeah, I think he has the right to rent any house, regardless of who the owner of the house is. There's no harm in renting even my house if I've got a house which is which can be rented. So it's right. So even Sunzu, if he's looking for a client, he can rent anyone regardless of their political affiliation. That's what I'm saying. We need to have a clear line between politics and private lives. If Sunzu has got a property, he's got a business, let him be willing to rent to anyone else without connecting them into politics. Unless he's giving it for free because the government, if he's not paying and he's trying to compensate for certain things, but as long as the agreement is clear, there's no politics involved. Let citizens be able to do business with anyone without looking at their political affiliation. I think that's what we in the UPN are working on to give freedom to citizens to be able to associate, to talk, to engage, and do business with anyone without looking at their political affiliation. It's not right to continue dividing the citizens.
Thank you. Honourable Mabeta, on that note, we are going to continue with our conversation with you about where you've been, the latest things in Parliament. We know that you did a very good job in reporting Honourable Raphael Nagachinda for Honourable Raphael Laya Nagachinda. Nimba perako ka middle name. Na lishwa tibali kwa tako ka middle name officially nomba. Na inena abikapo ka middle name. Very simple. L-I-A-R. If I spell Laya, Bamwelwa. Mweba kalapash muli fifinto. Ni Laya?
Yes, that's a spelling.
L-I-A-R. So, Raphael Laya Nagachinda, but Mwali Bachita report to police. I think you did the right thing. So I'll leave you in the hands of Patrick Chilufya, because we continue with the conversation. Mama, bantu mwachicheru okuisa. No, we know you are working very hard, and we are very proud of you. UPND should win all of them. There is no compromise. Na kumilenge kuli by election kumilenge. I think to get such a campaign, Bamwelwa, imwete mwa politician nine. Tamwakachitako campaign.
We are commentaries. We're commentators rather than politicians.
If we are much politicians, Mabeta knows that. We can't even lie. Can one day, God willing, to our civil servants, then we'll stop Vamush. But for now, we are freelancers.
Thank you. You can carry on, Bachelor.
Good evening, Comrade Mabeta. The floor now is, you've got the floor now. You can tell us what is happening in Parliament, and also more specifically, tell us what motivated you to go and report Mr. Honourable Nagachinda. It looks like Mr. Mabeta is having problems with the internet. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can get you, although even the lighting, I think the lighting is bad.
Yeah, but it's okay. We can hear you, we can see you. We can see you, though the lighting is not that good, but people can see you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Mabeta, can you just tell the nation what's happening in Parliament, latest issues in Parliament, and also what motivated you to go and report to the police regarding the utterances of Honourable Nagachinda? Thank you so much.
Nakachinda, not Nagachinda.
Nagachinda, I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, I don't want to marry for nation. Yeah, I think good evening. That's Mwelwa, Iva Mwelwa.
Mkwai, good evening, sir.
Yeah, you know, the other things to do. I think Bachirufi is the issue of the gravity of the sentiments. I won't say it's the Honourable, because the Honourable basically respect someone to do things honorably, but when you stop doing things honorably, then you're not honourable anymore. You don't deserve that title. I think for Nagachinda, he got out of the way by trying to bring in the judiciary. More especially, what really got me upset was trying to bring the judiciary in politics. You know, as UPND are focusing so much on the rule of law and separation of powers, which we want to build on, so that even those who come after us will know to say, as a country, we are going to be governed by the rule of law. So when Mr. Nakachinda, you know, in his excitement, in his way to please his paymasters, he drew the judiciary into the politics, the Zambian politics, where he accused the president to say he was having dark corner meetings. He zoomed and he saw them. The president meeting with the judges to connive to create a one-party state. That was a very, very serious statement, which even borders on our national security and as the existence of democracy in the country. Because when the president now starts controlling the judiciary, then we have lost our democracy, you know. Are you able to get me? Hello?
Yes, we are able to get you clearly. Continue, Mr.
Yeah, so drawing the judiciary in politics is a serious compromise, because once you lose the confidence in the judiciary, when the citizens are going to rise, are going to take their law in their hand, you're going to see no citizens taking the law in their hand because they would have lost confidence in the judiciary. You know, the judiciary is our final place of appeal. When aggrieved, you go to the court to ensure that you can be heard. But if the court seems to be compromised and having that corner meeting with the government, that's a serious assault on the judiciary, which you can't tolerate. Number two, most of these countries where we had coup d'etats, you know, the government being overthrown by the army, they accuse the judiciary not being there for the people. So by trying to compromise on the judiciary, even compromising on our existence as and a government which was elected by the people, so that he was indirectly inciting a coup d'etat, you know, where the army could rise up against a democratically elected government because the judiciary has been compromised by the government. So his statement was very serious and grave. So it's so shocked to see him speak carelessly, that's not even considering it, and the consequence which carry statements which may have a ripple effect on our lives, a ripple effect on our security. We should not tolerate it. Let's leave politics to politicians. Just like I was saying, Why draw in the judiciary in the politics? What was the panic? You know, what was the panic? Why putting pressure on the judiciary to rule in favor of the complainants who went to court? He was basically putting pressure to put them on their defense when passing the judgment. So I thought it's important we report him to the police. The police call him so they can give him a chance to explain and give evidence of the accusations. And fortunately enough, today the police they have invited him to their office and they're keeping him well to ensure that he can give them that evidence. It's not right that we should start compromise on democratic tendencies. In the last 10 years, last 7 years, we saw a total collapse of democracy. But you were arrested. Me, I was arrested 5 times without any investigation. I was arrested. Sometimes I spent 2 weeks in police cells without being charged. I was given serious charges, which I only came to learn and understand today. There's one charge which I was given as a petition. And then a very serious charge, which was only waiting for the election to pass, then they'll take me to court. Had we lost the election, what could they have been today? You know, so there was total collapse of rule of law, and which we're trying to rebuild. Now, because the people who brought down that rule of law, they're in opposition. They shouldn't take advantage of the freedom of speech and the position in the opposition to take us back where we're trying to come out from. So this case is nothing personal. It's about our country and our democracy as Zambian.
Thank you so much, Honourable Mabeta, about that. Any other issues you want to talk about happening in Parliament before we go into another subject? Thank you.
Yeah, I think I just want to assure the Zambian people to say we are likely to conclude the budget by next week, Thursday or Friday, because we have increased the number of hours we are spending in Parliament debating the budgets. Although, as usual, we have seen our friends are always trying to be funny, but I think we're moving at a faster speed now than we are moving before. So we're likely to conclude the budget next week, so they shouldn't worry. The teachers, the nurses, the pupils who need to be supported through the bursary system which has been introduced in CDF, the increase in farmer support program, you know, the salaries, the teacher salaries have been increased. The budget is going to be implemented and we have the capacity to meet the promises because we now have the control over the funds with the government going to raise and going to spend. So they should be assured to say the budget will be concluded next week. They shouldn't worry about it. Should we fail, then just 1 or 2 days the other week, then the budget will be concluded. So that come 1st, 2nd January, as the ministers made the commitment, want to ensure that all schools are funded on the 1st week of January, so that no kid is going to be chased out of school because they haven't paid school fees. No kid is going to be disadvantaged to try to concentrate in class because they fear to be imbalanced that they haven't paid school fees and they'll be squeezed out of school. So all the things which were proposed in the 2022 budget, we are working around the clock to ensure the budget is approved so that Zambians for once we can start having the benefit of having changed the government. I'm sure in Parliament we are working tirelessly to ensure that we support the government. That's our role as backbenchers, to support the policies, and we shall always, as usual, keep and check the government to ensure that the commitments the government has made to the Zambian people are met. Because if they don't deliver those commitments, we're also going to suffer the consequences. So we're not going to betray them. We're not going to let them down because we are the ruling party. Then we can't keep the government in check. No, we shall always engage the government using the right procedures. What you want to see is how best the best CPND budget will be implemented. And we know very well to say proper implementation of the budget gives us a start to rebuilding the broken economy.
Thank you so much, Honourable Mabeta. On that note, we're gonna move into one of the topics that is a serious one, and a lot of people are complaining. Mabeta, I've received a lot of complaints even today via my WhatsApp, and this is relating to the hiring of teachers next year. I'm told, and this used to happen in the last 10 years. It has worsened. that for somebody to get a job in Zambia, you have to bribe. We're not talking about the government. I'll come back to the government, but I'm talking about the private sector, even parastatals. You have to bribe the HR manager or somebody who is a senior person there to get a job. But with the teachers' recruitment, I heard about this so many years ago, a number of years ago. For a teacher to get a job, you have to pay something like 10 to 20,000. So there are some scrupulous criminals going around collecting money from people who are looking to be deployed as teachers to pay 20,000 kwacha. Some of my relatives have complained about this. And they says if you don't pay that 20,000, you won't be employed. So, Mabeta, do we have a process of teachers applying? Because most of the people, they don't even know where to apply. And then those people are moving around telling them that if you don't pay 20,000, you're not going to be employed. They're not even telling them how to apply. They said, you have to pay us and then we'll do it for you. And if you don't do that, you won't get a job. What is your comment about that, Mabeta?
Yeah, that is a real situation, Chirufi. I think in Zambians, as I said, there was a total breakdown of law. Unfortunately, you look at a poor teacher who was struggling even to pay school fees, asking for 20,000 from them, is killing them, you know. And we had complaints of teachers, 1,500 teachers. They're employed and they're not put on payroll. Now, these poor teachers borrowed money at a very high interest rates, Kalova. They stay 1 year without being paid, meaning that money is accumulating 10,000 every month. At the end of the year, they're already owing over 500,000. So how do they pay back? It was really a bad system and a rotten way of doing things without considering the suffering and the pain the poor teachers were going through, or any other a person who was looking for a job. But I can assure them to say they shouldn't be in a hurry. The government hasn't advertised any jobs. 30,000 is a good number, which those who qualify, I'm not sure of the criteria which the government will use to recruit, but I'm sure the government might consider going year by year, because we have teachers as far as 2011, 2012, graduated, but they're not employed. So when we're going year by year, there's no need to panic. If you're going to panic, you end up losing your money, because the government is going to be strict and there'll be proper screening to ensure that those who deserve are given the chance to work for the government. So there hasn't been an advert on the teachers or recruitment of any civil servants next year. Basically, maybe because the budget hasn't been approved, you cannot push an advert on a budget which hasn't been approved. That's why we're working hard to ensure that the budget is approved, to give time for the government now to implement the policies. So the budget is still in the debate stage, so they shouldn't be cheated by anyone that the government has started recruiting, because that proposal hasn't been approved. So when it's advertised, I'm sure we are going to share the adverts so that those who qualify and eligible, they can apply. The mistake they're going to make is trying to use shortcut, because they'll end up, and scrupulous people will take advantage of robbing the poor Zambians. 20,000 is a lot of money. It's not easy to come by. You force your parents or relatives to get a loan, and you don't get the value of what you're getting a loan for. Will create more problems. So let them just take their time. The advert will come out. The UPND, I think, among the governments, not that some UPND has been very transparent. Today, when you go in a ward, you go on the streets, every kid is even talking about CDF, which you never used to know when we are a few years ago, when we are not even in government, you know. But today, a kid is able to talk about CDF. Today, a kid is able to talk about the budget. There's so much access to information and transparency in the UPND. Nothing's going to be done to disadvantage anyone.
Thank you so much for that, Mabeta. And when that advert comes, please let us know so that we can advertise it on Bakwe too, and then we can also advertise it on different social media platforms, even on Facebook. Bamwelwa, Have you got a question or to Mabeta or a comment regarding the recruitment of teachers? People asking for thousands of kwacha, which people don't have. And also, Mabeta also mentioned, which I remember, the number of teachers who have been recruited, and they've been working for years now. They haven't been paid. Thank you.
I think it's probably just a comment that, like Honourable Mabeta has said, that, you know, the government that we had created a very conducive environment for illegal little things to exist. I remember having to come into Zambia and get a passport. My passport, you know, when we were getting the new passports, mine never arrives. I come into Zambia and I say, I haven't received mine. And instead of my passport being searched for or looked for, I'm told, no, we don't have this. So go to the police, report that your passport is missing. So who do I say stole my passport? Never immigration, you know. But then they say, no, you quickly go there, we'll send a passport, we'll report, then come back, then by 12 hours your passport will be out. You just have to pay this much. Now, you know, you're under pressure, you need to leave the country and all sorts of things, and you end up doing it because sometimes you're paying these people not because you want to pay it, but because of the situation that you're in. And this is what is happening to a lot of people. They're desperately looking for work. Even now, advertise, teaching service, people just begin to apply and send in. And unfortunately, people began to make money in different ministries. So I'm sure, like in the ministry, like the education ministry, the people who are there who are saying, look, I'm either on a board which employs or which considers applications, so I'm benuk to pay, which is sometimes what happens. If it's not that, it's when you become employed, like Mr. Mabeta said, and someone says, Nakula senda kuli salary of every month. That is very common in a lot of places, whether it is the mines, whether it is private, we hear that it's everywhere. And these are some of the illegal or criminal activities that we have. And I equally think they have been encouraged by people who are doing the right thing, but in the wrong way. I'll give an example where you find, for example, last year, we had National Service, Zambia National Service, the Army, they were all recruiting. And when you take your application form to go and submit it, there were some officers from a post office who were demanding that you pay a 20 kwacha for your application. Now, under human resource, employment is not paid for. It doesn't need assistance. You who's wanting to employ people, how can you not have money for stationery? Because sometimes that's the excuse. They say, no, it's for stationery or it's for the costs of recruitment. Why are you recruiting if you cannot, you know, fund recruitment? I found it very, very off because I saw people go and apply and then they come back not to my receipt. So I looked at the receipt, I'm asking myself, receipt Yanshi, you went to apply for a job at no Kai apply, you're paying 20,000. And I began to calculate 2 million people applying for these jobs by 20 kwacha. That is a lot of money, but no one is calling them to credibility to ask, where are you taking this money? Why are you demanding for a 20 kwacha? So when companies do this, and it looks okay, you know, where is the law that says you can't do it? You see, so a lot of people begin to assume that then it's okay for you to equally do it at a bigger scale, and then we have such tendencies going around, and I think that's where we have a problem. The human resource body in Zambia needs to come in. It needs to come and start specifying what should be done when recruitment is happening. We shouldn't be charging people for recruitments. We shouldn't be charging people to apply for anything. Piece of paper, stationery in a pen, I think, and you're getting paid on the job. You don't need that extra money. So I find these are some of the wrong things that we're doing under human resource in the country, and it's now breeding possibilities for criminals. Because I don't think criminal unless I and thinks, how do I monetize this system?
Thank you so much, Mamwelwa. Mahimba, what can you say about that? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrick, and good evening, viewers. Honourable Mabeta, good evening.
Good evening, thank you, Mama.
Bamwewa mlishani.
Tulifia bwino katuishimwe.
Ituife bwino, my sister. Honourable Mabeta, this issue of abantu kubadipila, it's a serious issue.
Yeah.
Actually, here my colleagues are talking about the financial part. It has even destroyed Ifyupo Fiaveni, because some they are even asked to pay sexually. Wanamayo. even kuma transfer Mabeta. If somebody wants to be transferred, no, let me sleep with you before I sleep with. There are relationships that have started based on such. They've become more vulnerable on this. Some they've gotten their jobs, yes, through sex. Some they've lost their marriages because they were looking for a job when somebody. It's everywhere. This is a cross-cutting issue in all the ministries. Let it be in healthy education. Kunchito, it's same paksangenchito. Ama transfers. Even when somebody wants a transfer, this is what they're going through. Some they're even paying double financially and paying in kind. So this is a very serious issue. Yeah, but you, our leaders, please, please look into it. Let's have the genuine people be transferred, get the employment. As my sister Mwila has said, and Patrick, how do you pay somebody who wants to offer you a job? So to Apapata, go and talk about it, Parliament, especially on behalf of Banamayo. You know, we are being taken for advantage of because you are looking for a job. And because you're in a desperate situation, what do? You want to be transferred. But more, yes, some women willingly do it, but the majority, they do it because they are under pressure. Elo naba ichaba nono abakwe batale isa lelo kofesa apwishishe college nombali ne bamabeta ala isanga kwisa 50 pin ala isanga kwisa 20 pin umwaichi bamono okulanda tabalaishi bana government system. Some are even taking advantage of this girl who doesn't understand the system. I'll go and talk to the director. I'll go and talk to this on your behalf. When that child is a Zambian, they've got the right to approach any government office. But because this person is taking advantage of the ignorance of this child who's just from college, please, to Apapata. And nama working conditions, especially naba kuleba na kwena mukatulandireko. The working conditions are pathetic for Zambians, especially domestic workers. They are pathetic. Please, can we have their rights protected and their working conditions improved? I rest my case.
Yeah,
But
no,
Honourable
thanks.
Mabeta, before you come in, let me just make one more comment, and then you can comment. But Mabeta, a lot of Zambians, including myself, we devoted ourselves against to remove the PF. You know, when you look at the MMD, it was just corruption. And the corruption in MMD was just at the highest level by the government. But the corruption in PF even went much deeper. So it's not just corruption, but also the economy was bad. So it went so much deeper that it even affected the poorest Zambian. So Abantu Mabeta voted for you, for our party, so that things like this can stop. Teachers, a few years ago, I heard complaints from teachers who paid 20,000 to be posted. But even after paying that 20,000, they haven't been paid up to today. So Mabeta, as a law maker, and also, you know, please, if this does not stop, and this is going to be a litmus test, Mabeta, when it comes to employing teachers and the medical professionals. If we do it wrongly, the Zambian people can remove us. Because the corruption that was going on made people to say no to PF. Up to you, Mabeta. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're very right, Machilufya. But if you're feeling to land Muchimemba, Tisa Vilambia Kumutu Okuwanai, don't expect Muchiroku, we know Mutu. Under the PF administration, there was no system. It was total collapse of systems. That's why it has taken us a bit of time as UPND to see the works you're doing, because we're working on rebuilding the system. You know, where there's no system, human beings naturally want to abuse it. We are law breakers as human beings. You know, Adam and Eve were only given one law to follow, but they failed it. So naturally, as human beings, we are lawbreakers. So if you don't invest in the system, we find that everyone will be able to crisscross. How did the government even end up employing teachers, knowing very well to say the budget in that year did not accommodate for the recruitment of teachers? You employ them and you can't provide in the budget to put them on the payroll. They end up wasting their 12 years. 12 months for that being put on the payroll. That's a total collapse of the system. It's a total collapse of the system. Before I can employ someone, if you secure the money, I'm going to pay them. And this is something which the recruitment is trying to do different. It's not just about recruitment, even tenders. You're going to see there'll be a lot of changes in the tenders. The government currently is owing over 143 billion to suppliers of goods and services who are engaged without provision in the budget. But those who are going to be engaged come 2022, they'll be paid within the shortest possible time because money will be secured first before they can be engaged. So without the system, there's nothing we can achieve. Corruption, unfortunately, is a two-way thing. There's always someone who's willing and someone who's willing to get. Someone who is offer and take. If I'm not willing to bribe someone, that person is not going to demand. They always look at your willingness. And if you don't report, it's a two-way transaction. Like Ivainda talked about sexual abuse. How do you come to know about it if no one is complaining? This time, I think technology has advanced. Don't do things without keeping evidence in case you want to make a claim. Because if you accuse someone, they might even be sued for defamation of character if you don't have enough evidence. So keep the evidence. If you feel you will need that evidence one day to complain. Let's have morals. Let's go back to where we felt it's not right to do. When it's not right, it's not right. Let's not do it. Corruption doesn't build. How many people have made wealth through corruption means? How many people have built businesses through corruption? Corruption, income, money which you make through corrupt activities, it's just short term. You can't even account for it. It doesn't stay. It doesn't give you the joy. It's just short term benefit. It doesn't give you the fulfillment as a human being where if you have worked and you need to have such wealth. That wealth is it just easily evaporates. So let's look at humanity, Ubuntu, situation Ubuntu. We lost Ubuntu as human beings. We didn't care about each other. Honestly, you ask for a poor girl from the village 20,000 to be for them to be employed. Where are they going to get the money from? Do you care about what they're going to do to get that money which they can't make? So Ubuntu, I think let's go back to Ubuntu. The churches, where are they? Churches used to build our moral value, moral fiber. But you find again the churches were in the forefront. The churches became in the forefront of receiving illicit money from politicians. Just a few days ago, I was reading about that Turkish transaction where the government paid some millions of money to buy that. I don't know if I remember so what. Look at the donations, the people who are involved, how much they went in churches donating, even buying brand new Mercedes-Benz 2020 model given to a father, I don't feel a father, a pastor, a religious leader who even exonerated the person donating without questioning where the source of income is coming from. So the church also collapsed. Everything collapsed. The church collapsed. Society collapsed. Humanity collapsed. There was nothing working virtually. That's why at the end of the day, I think God had just to say enough is enough. Had we not changed the government, this country was going to be burn flame because there was nothing working anymore. So corruption starts from us as the human beings. If you're willing to offer someone are going to get it. Then that's how it starts building. So let's not even be willing to offer that bribe to anyone. Let's do the right thing.
You're right, Mabeta. Corruption is bad. And you said it rightly. The PF won the 8th of August elections. Zambia would have been finished. But Mabeta, we're running out of time, but there is only one important issue we wanted you to talk about. We understand there's going to be a 12% salary increase or uplift for all civil servants. Can you please confirm if that is correct? And is that 12% enough? Thank you.
Yeah, I think I haven't seen any government circular. I just read it when I came up from the meeting. I haven't seen any government circular to confirm, but I think it's a good start considering what the civil servants have been through over the past 7 years. They've only been given 4% in 7 years. So 12% is a good start, although it's not enough because of the inflation and how much the value the money has lost. But also let's look at the other parts of commitment the government has taken away from the civil servants. They won't be spending money on their school fees. There's a lot which the government has taken away from the citizens, which we can say is an addition to the income of people. There's also a reduction in the pay as you earn. That is also an addition to the income. There's also an issue of working hard to ensure that exchange rates at least doesn't go well. Once, in Zambia we import everything. So when the exchange rate, when the kwacha gains or the kwacha stabilizes, you're going to see the cost of goods and services becoming stable or even reducing. That also gives us more what you can call disposable income. So the increment may look like just a 12%, but the other things which the government is working on to ensure that the cost of living and the standard of living for citizens becomes manageable. It's a good start, I think. It's a good start. Because if someone gets a 5,000, 12% is 1.250. It's a good start for when we're looking at the promise we made to 1.5. So I was almost moving to that. So it's a good start, I think, if the government has given the civil servants a beginning to have a better income. Mostly this civil income will go towards the loans. And I want to plea to the civil servants. This culture of borrowing money without having a plan to invest it is what has even landed Zambia into problems. Zambia currently is owing over 468 billion. 468 billion kwacha against an average income of 90 billion. So the country is also in a total debt. Even at individual level, let's not just look at the government. As individuals, how are we managing our debt portfolio? Because development starts from individual. It has to start from a home to society up to governance. So we can be blaming the government to say it's failing to, they mismanage the economy. Even us as individuals, we're careless. Why should you get a loan without a plan? Don't get a loan which you can't invest. If you don't invest, that's when it's going to hit you and start complaining that the government is not paying you enough because you're not managing to meet your ends meet. So only borrow when you have a plan to invest the money.
Thank you so much, Honourable Mabeta. You've explained that very well, and it's a pleasure always to have you on Bakwetu. My fellow presenters, you've got 1 minute each just to make a comment on what Mabeta has said. Bamwelo, over to you.
I think you're very right that I think people should borrow with a plan. Unfortunately, I think the cost of living was just all over the place and people were borrowing even just to get out of problems. So, and this is very typical of many nations and places where you find that, when you are under pressure, you cannot develop. You are living for survival, which was a lot of people. And it's still a lot of people at the moment. People are not in a state where you can think nicely of an investment, and you don't have that, that sort of relaxed feeling that kunapanga plan. A lot of people make plans out of desperation. It's survival, and and because it's survival, the chances are you will just use it to get out of the problem. But now you've got to find funds, and that's where I think we have that big problem as well. So I think it is twofold. It is, like you've said, where people are borrowing without a plan, and it's people borrowing to survive and get out of problems or get out of financial issues. I can imagine a lot of people within the civil service who borrow excessively are paying to get their children into education abroad. And the investment is the idea is because of a salary. And I've seen certain civil servants pay slips where you find someone is literally getting paid 100 kwacha, and they're very comfortable with it because it's okay as long as in daddy pillar back because one aliku school. So I think it was a tough situation. I hope that as we come out of this economic problem, we equally begin to get a lot more education, financial education, because I think that is a lot of things that we lack. Especially we're not getting this education that is pro individual, financials. We just get education, but then this education, like the way Mabeta says, you see, you need to get a loan and make an investment and make sure you can pay it back. So there's a falling out somewhere and the lacking in our education system where we're not teaching these financial literacy skills.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bamuelwa. That was very insightful. Bahimba, 1 minute, please. Bahimba, are you there? Babeani, 1 minute, please.
So I came late also, although I've been struggling to join. I don't know where was the problem.
No, we had so many topics, Babeani. If you have no comment, Oswald Mwansa, can you comment on what we were talking about?
Thank you very much, Patrick. It's just unfortunate I also came late. I joined the program late and you are discussing very important issue that I really want, which is maybe part of my heart for some reasons. Yeah, but all in all, since the day has passed, but I still want to put an emphasis from what other panelists have talked about to Mr. Mabeta. I think the issue of corruption when trying to employ teachers. As we speak, even the 30,000 that is coming starting from January, some people have started soliciting for money. I think this is one issue I think please need urgent attention from the UPND. I think there's still some element of the previous government who are still trying to take advantage. And I think these people need to be caged. Some senior civil servant, please, I wish I could mention, but I'm scared to pick up some legal issues. But please, this is an issue that need attention. And people, I think most people are enslaved, not really, I don't know, let me not use word abused or what. They are enslaved by this nature. I've got close relatives who are victim of that. I wish I could give a lot of information, but Mr. Mabeta, that issue, please, it needs attention. Some senior civil servant need to be caged, starting from HRs to somewhere like even up to permanent secretaries. Secondly, some people were put on payroll.
Oswald, we're running out of time. We can have a few minutes with Mabeta in the background. Over to you, Mkeleba, 1 minute, please. Hope you were listening to what we're discussing.
For sure, I listened to much of it. That's why I'm saying I'm late. Thank you very much. I wish we could discuss more.
No, thank you.
Over to you, Mkeleba, 1 minute, please. So I'm sorry to say that we're running out of time.
No, it's okay. I understand. Good evening, Vakwetu. Good evening, Stawasahesu. Good evening, Honourable.
Good evening, Mkeleba. Yeah.
I just want to give you thumbs up for having done the right thing, and you are one of our heroes, and we are well represented that side. I was just trying to talk about the thing that was happening at home, but since you guys have already talked about everything, I think it's the right thing to do, and let's just negate anybody that tries to bring down the name of the president or put the name of the president in disrepute. With regards to civil service, that's another battle. We have a new deal in place, and anyone that is going to try to play under the table tactics, I'm afraid you will be exposed. And if you have old habits, I know that old habits die hard, but you will be discovered and you will be dealt with. The law will visit you because this president has no jokes. We're going to make sure that you arrest you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mkeleba. Now we're coming to an end of the program. Thank you so much, Honourable Mabeta. Thank you so much, Bamuelwa, Mr. Mkeleba, Oswald Mwansa, Babeani. I'm sorry You will be allowed to talk when we go to the background. This was the presentation of Bakwe 2. Thank you so much, viewers. And before we go, I just want to encourage you to start sending those stars. Thank you so much. God bless you. Bye for now.